it's so great to see you guys. Thanks for watching. Can I ask you for a favor, if you don't mind? Can you write down, I feel terrific today in the comment section below? Help me engage with you. I want to connect with you. I want to authentically know how you're doing. And also, if you have any questions that maybe I can answer for you in a video, I would love to do that for you. So don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to subscribe and share and tell all of your friends about the connections that you're making. And I will see ya on the flip side.
All righty, you guys. Looks like I've got the confirmation that we are recording our next episode of The Portal with Terrie Huberman. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so excited to bring my next guest to you. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can already see who it is. But if you're listening to this on audio, I want to officially introduce to you guys Rebekah Muir of Sacred Starlight. She is an astrologer, a witch, and an energy healer, and probably one of my favorite people on earth. So I want to introduce you guys to Ms. Rebekah Muir. Hey.
Hey, thanks for having me on The Portal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, in all full transparency, we're actually really good friends. So
yeah, we are.
So, you know, you might see some silliness and playfulness, but that's okay, because that's just an indication of authenticity and truth. But the reason why I had to bring Rebekah to you guys was not only is she just awesome, but she's like, we will get into these really deep conversations about energy. And a lot of people understand energy, but then they don't understand energy. So she and I can get really deep into the quantum stuff. And because she's an astrologer, she also knows so much about the celestial and the planetary energy. And because she's also a witch, she knows about all of those things. And she's also an energy healer. So I thought it'd be really cool to have a conversation with Rebekah about harnessing energy. How do you feel about that, Rebekah?
I'm stoked about it. I think it's a perfect topic. It encompasses a lot of things. I actually made some quick notes. I was like, wow, there's so much to talk about. And pretty much everything that both of us do is about that. Yeah. You know, so...
Is that your book of shadows there that you wrote it in?
No. Do you know what? And let me just say about the witchy thing. The word witch is like a really loose term too, because I think there are, like, every person that I know and know of that would say they're a witch defines it really differently. So I'm like the love and light variety. Yeah. I just like magic and enchantment. So, and actually that's a really powerful way to harness energy. So we can maybe start there. But I don't actually have a book of shadows, but I suppose this is sort of what, this is like client notes and podcast notes and
I deem that
all kinds of healing notes. So it kind of is a book of shadows. And of course it has to be sparkly and gold because that conjures magic up for me. So harnessing energy, did you have a question or am I just going to launch right in?
Launch. And you know how look, this is how it really flows. Casual environment. It's just going to flow. It's going to go.
It goes how it flows.
Maybe some F-bombs dropped. Of course not by you because you're such a lady, but by me,
no.
Sure, you know?
Oh my gosh, anybody that knows me from home is like, we're not afraid of those here. Yeah. But I was just gonna say that one of the sort of more fun ways that I harness energy is by having beautiful things around me. And it doesn't mean like fancy necessarily, but I got the Dollarama. Oh, even better. But I was like, I like to have a beautiful things to work out of, right? So everything is energy, and everything is based on your feeling state, right? So how you feel is energy too. If you feel upset, that's a particular vibration of energy, and if you feel awesome, that's a particular vibration of energy. Right. And so anyway, that's where we kind of blend the quantum and then the realms of kind of witchiness and enchantment and energy healing. They all kind of flow together. But one of my favorite ways that's most simple to harness energy that people do all the time and they don't necessarily realize it is by buying a beautiful book or having like a gorgeous teacup. Or what these things do is they make you feel a certain way. You know, it's not where just teacup is going to solve the world's problems, but it does give you a certain sort of feeling when you look at it, or whatever it is. It's magic, right? Beauty is anything, or sometimes beauty is like really subjective too, right? So, but all of these types of things help you to shift your feeling state in extraordinary and very simple ways. So my like number one tip for starting with that is stuff that people are pretty much already doing anyway, but you can bring more of it in. So you know, there's a lot of actual magical and energy healing power in the way that you dress, because it affects how you feel so much. Or you know, if you feel really bummed out, or you're really angry and you haven't been able to dig yourself out of that feeling state, put on some music that romanticizes it. It acts as a buffer. It's really powerful stuff. I mean, it's like, these are all conventional tools, right?
Yeah. I feel like you're blowing my mind, actually, because it's so simple, and I'd never actually thought about it from the perspective of magic. And I get energy, and I totally understand that magic is energy. So like, I get it, like I understand it, but I didn't understand the simplicity, excuse me while I choke, and the ease of it, of being a, you know, sort of, I guess like a ritual, or but again, it's like harnessing the energy, but I never put two and two together of it being sort of like a witchy woo kind of thing. So I love that you're, you know, explaining that, because that, just like you said, that is something everybody can do, and
everybody's doing it,
and everybody's already doing it. So now
everyone's doing it, but we forget.
Yeah. And I feel like now when we do something like this, we can actually have power in doing it. So now it's with intention.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, like specifically to speak to, like harnessing energy is something that you always think of when you have a problem, or like energy that you want to shift. There's something you want to change, whether it's how you feel or a circumstance in your life. And it's like perhaps a whole other rabbit hole to start with the most basic concept that the way that you're feeling, the law of attraction, the law of vibration, the law of mirroring, everything is mirroring that back to you. Yeah. Right. So that can be like another in-depth whole other podcast that I'm sure you've done or can do. And people can usually check that
my
out,
direction. Yeah. So that's why I love that you're talking about this.
Yeah. That's like the basic principle for all of it. But, if you're having a hard time shifting energy, a hard time harnessing energy, right? Because there's sometimes when you feel okay and you can kind of kick yourself into something and shift your feeling state, and other times when you're really dealing more with shadow work, which is like not feeling well, not feeling happy, having some really hard emotions come up, and being present with those is like kind of the way through is like the way out is through, right? What is that? So you go through those emotions, but a lot of the time people forget that they can put on a movie that evokes a certain feeling for them and have a good cry. They can put on a piece of music that evokes a certain feeling, and it kind of colors. It is like an energetic like cascade that kind of flows down through you and all around you when you're listening to this piece of music or when you're watching this movie. And you'll notice like you get the feels, you get, even if it's sad, like your favorite sad song can really, even if you're still sad, there's certain beauty or artistic sense, it does raise the vibration within that and makes it like a more tolerable experience, or gives you an opportunity to kind of dive into that, to feel it, to heal it, or to clear it out, right? So I thought that would be like maybe a good place to start. And
it's a great
I have like certain music that I put on all the time to shift energy and change how I feel in any given moment. So,
and that's because sound has vibration. So just in that in itself, those frequencies are going to integrate and blend and mesh with your own with your own electromagnetic field, and it can push things through. But again, I just love how you're pointing out how it's just so, it's just so easy. And yes, I always knew, and I work very hard be aware of what I'm feeling, because I know that that's an indication law of mirroring of what's reflecting around me. I prefer law of reflection versus law of attraction, by the way.
Yeah.
So when we're not feeling well, that mirror is going to, depending on how long, I mean, the universe is not so weak that, for like 5 minutes of you feeling like crap, it's going to bring all the crap to you. It's like over a period of time, got to give the universe some credit here. But,
of course.
But what you're saying is that we can find really easy, simple, cheap tools to harness our energy that we're already doing. So now we just have to become aware that we're doing it and use the energy in that way, which is all about intention.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
There's a lot of things you can do to harness energy, and some of them are more like fancy or more involved, but these are like direct ways in.
Yeah.
I find through beauty and art, which is interesting because like in astrology, Neptune, the planet or the archetype Neptune, rules art, and it also rules higher realms. It's the higher octave of Venus, so it rules God or spirit, right? And those things are kind of the same, right? Yeah. So they're in the same category, they're in the same archetype, everything that's kind of higher than the third dimension. And so art and beauty and spirit and God and the universe, they're all sort of one thing, and magic and enchantment, right? So whatever it is you can do to sort of romanticize or whatever, it's medicine, right? Yes. So again, like favorite song, favorite movie, favorite food, favorite color, those types of things will shift your feeling state. Now, when I host ceremonies, which I haven't been able to do in person because of COVID for a little while.
Damn you, COVID!
I know. A really big part, like it's not that we have no meat in the sandwich, right? It's not all just gloss and we don't fluff our way through things, right? No. There's a lot of substance to what we do, but I'll come in early and I'll set the room so that it smells good. There's candlelight everywhere. I'm creating an experience for people so that they can feel magical when they walk in the door. They do this at weddings too, and events and things like that, right? So all of this is a way to kind of begin to shift your feeling state in subtle and powerful ways. And that's like the seed, right? So then you can, of course, go in and do ritual, or you can pray, or you can meditate, or you can do energy healing, all of these other things. But I can't tell you how many times I've like endeavored to shift my energy through a ritual, or like through my will, or like with my mental mind, those kind of things. And then it's like, just doesn't necessarily pack the same punch or have the same power behind it. But if I kick on a little Lorena McKennett, who's like this kind of like Celtic witchy, like singer-songwriter, I'm instantly in a different feeling state. Yeah. Instantly. And so those types of things are honestly the most powerful, some of the most powerful tools I have. I would say in some instances can be equally as powerful, or they can bolster and be a great foundation for some of the more like spells, which to me those are just rituals, right? Or energy healing sessions, Reiki, any of that other kind of stuff. So
to me it's just so resourceful, because I think I don't know if you've encountered this, but people have this perception of how rituals or just how things are supposed to go, right? By rules and regulations and this, that, and everything else. Actually, it was you, I feel like I have to give you credit, who kind of gave me permission to get into my witchiness, because I always thought I had to be a certain way, do rituals a certain way, and spend all this money for all the things. And
say the right chant that's in that book that you bought that says you have to set up this air element here and the water here and all that.
And it just felt, it felt actually limiting for something that's supposed to be so freeing.
And exhausting.
And
overwhelming.
Totally. And then on top of that, judgmental, and could oftentimes make me feel like a failure. I'm like, how is this making me feel better? So when you sort of brought to me, like, you can go rogue, which is what I do when I do any type of work anyways. I learn the traditional way of doing things, but I never actually do. This is the one area in my life I'm not in traditional and conditioned land. Everything else is always has to be like this. But, you know, the fact that you're bringing in and you're saying we can use all these, it's just so resourceful, it's so practical, and it's easy. And, you know, for whatever it's worth, I almost feel like it gives us access to the divine in connection, and in a way that we have no excuse not to be doing it, because we're already doing it.
You're already doing it. And there's something interesting. I know you're talking specifically with the music example, right? So of course there's like quantifiable things, right? And you can do vocal toning, and this tone corresponds supposedly, I'm suspicious of this, but to this chakra, or, you know, and always think for yourself, think out of the box, and do what makes sense and what feels good, because if it doesn't feel good, that's not your vibration.
It's
that
not
you're
for
looking
you,
to
dude.
get into, right? So like, exactly. But I totally lost where I was going with it. Oh, okay, good. So when you're working with music, there are quantifiable things. Like, you could measure a frequency, you could measure a vibration, but I still think there's that. And then there is something like the sum of the parts, or the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, right? So when you put on that movie or that piece of music, or you smell that smell, like for me, I'm at my cottage in Nova Scotia, and like I smell sweetgrass, and it's like this flood of something comes over me when I smell that, and it evokes such a feeling for me that's so beyond quantifiable, like so completely beyond anything that can be quantified. And so I don't know if that's not really that I'm harnessing energy, but that's like a wave of energy that's coming that I'm deciding to hop on and ride. And so with music, you can put it on, but there's something sort of beyond that's still happening, right? Even though you could measure that frequency, like there's something that's being tapped. Even if you feel disconnected, there's still a wave of something ineffable that might be moving through, and that's really powerful.
Well, that's the magic, and that's the enchantment.
That's the magic. That's the enchantment, right? And so that's where a lot of people talk about quantum stuff. Like, I do these Dr. Joe meditations, Dr. Joe Dispenza meditations too. I'm trained in a bunch of different energy healing modalities. Some of them are quite regimented, like very structured. But I find that, if I want to shift my feeling state, I'm really working with a beautiful teacup, my favorite smell, you know, in conjunction with all of this other stuff. So, but to consciously harness energy, it is great to set a time, or to actually like talk to the force, however, by whatever name you want to call it, God, the universe, the source, goddess. I call it the force of love, the force of magic, force of grace, whatever, right?
Every time we do ritual together, you're like,
and we call, and you can feel it. So call it in, ask, talk to it. And you don't have to be all fancy either, but this is a way to harness energy, because what it does is it opens a channel. It actually does, whether you can feel it or not. And I find there's usually like a pivot point where if you do this enough, you'll eventually start to, because I believe in grace, right? So I'm like a grace witch. So I think that even if your vibration is not necessarily in an amazing place, if you're asking for help, the force conjures around you and kind of can help shift you out of that. So opening the channel just through prayer, or even if you don't want to call it prayer, it can be journaling, it can just be talking to whatever is out there, that kind of thing. And then those are sort of the most simple things. But then of course, Terrie, we can get into like ritual and like some more structured stuff. What do you like? What's your kind of go-to, Terrie, for harnessing energy? If you were gonna, if someone said, how do you harness energy?
How do I harness? Yeah, for me, I think it is actually candle magic.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, it's candle magic. But I never, again, you're making me think, like, now there's all these other ways of, I can now be doing things differently with the same intention, creating the same end result, you know, harnessing energy from just a simple thing like for me, okay, now I'm thinking about all these things, like you're talking about beauty, right? I have a lipstick fetish, and I know that's really weird.
That shit is magic.
That shit is magic. And I like, now I'm thinking of that. And what I do is like, I blend colors, I mix colors. And most of the time I'm not even wearing lipstick unless I'm doing a video recording or going out on a date. Otherwise, I never wear it. So for me, I love blending the colors and just finding that right, you know, style for me, or, you know, mixing whatever. And now I'm just, you're making me think that's the everyday mundane thing, but
it shifts how you feel when you put it on, whether it's subtle or big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a thing. And that's why I feel like you're blowing my mind with this whole concept, and it's so easy, you know? So yeah, I mean, so now I don't know that I can say candle magic. I mean, I can say candle magic, and that's a bigger thing, but we're talking like, you know, simplicity, elegance with grace, you know, it's.
Yeah, these are like the kind of things prop you up, right? Yeah. So like often if I have hosted like these larger ceremonial sort of moon circles or meditations at like Liberate Hollywood, which is now everything's online. But I'll often say to people, come dressed how you feel best.
Yeah. Well, they say dress for the part that you want, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Because it really changes how you feel, and then everything is responding to that, right? Yeah. So, but let's go back to candle magic, because sometimes if you're like, I have this thing I need to change, and it might not feel like you might not feel like you're doing enough by putting some lipstick on, you know, or putting on some music, right? So like, here's the thing, whatever it is that makes you feel like you're connecting, or at least trying to connect, depending on like whether it's easy for you to connect or you're someone that still feels like that's difficult. Whatever that is, do that, right? So, you know, for candle magic, that resonates with you, right? Yeah. So that's a way to structure.
Yes, it's structured. That's for me. And I feel like then I'm like, my intention is just really focused. You know, so it's just structured, it's focused, and I can gear it or aim it towards a certain frequency that I want to either bring in or push away.
Totes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting because there's a lot of differing opinions on this, but for me, like everything is energy, right? So different flowers, different crystals do have vibrations. I'm not negating that. I actually work with them all the time, but I don't know, like for me, and I do candle magic all the time, I don't know if I don't think it's the candle that is the magic.
Right.
I don't think it is, but I think that there's something about the process of dressing a candle, blessing a candle, very specifically adding certain frequencies to it, like rose petals, these have the frequency of love, let's add this. You're focusing energy by going through that process of doing it. And with candle magic, you light it and you're connected in prayer, meditation, whatever, boom. When the candle is out, it's done. Your mind and your energy has something tangible and physical to look at, to grasp and say, okay, this is done. The magic is done, or the working is done. I can let go and allow the force to begin to reorganize the energy in my life. So that's sort of how I see it, but I see the process as being so powerful.
I think it's the process, and this is for me personally with my experience, and someone else might have a different experience, but to me, it's the process that for me is healing. And the flame, well, first of all, I'm a fire sign, so I just like watching flames dance anyways. But for me, when you light it, it is that release. It is that now it's not my problem anymore. It's all up to you, dude. You know, so it is in the process. For me, that's the healing, because also so often we're not dealing with things that we need to bring to our attention so that we can heal it. And so this is an opportunity to make the time.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to be working on this within myself. I'm just going to use tangible, physical 3D reality tools that I can touch, smell, taste or whatever. And I'm going to use that as the access to the energy. So, and that's what it is for me, for the whole process.
Yes, because the mind does a lot better when there's something that you can fit that has a physical representation, because we are in still the physical world.
Third dimension.
Can you guys hear my kitty? He's like,
where'd you bring your kitty
like,
over?
Sorry, buddy. I'm not going to get out. He wants to go out. Anyway, and of course my mom is outside puttering. She can't hear him. But anyway, Archie is saying hello to you.
Hello, Archie.
Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. It's a way to kind of have something physical that represents that, and it allows us to kind of grasp onto it, and it just allows the mind to process it a little bit more easily, I think, for a lot of people. And then too, with ritual and magic, right? Magic spells, ritual, to me, like, I'll call them different things depending, I'll call it different things depending on who I'm speaking with, because
know your audience.
Depending on like what I think someone is going to how they're going to understand it. But yeah, for sure, it's sorry, my cat's like really distracting me. He's like,
he's not that disruptive.
Okay,
you're a witch. He's your familial. It's all good.
Right, he's my familiar.
Good.
But it's a dance to me. To me, it's always a dance between harnessing the energy and receiving and asking help and trusting as well.
That's a whole other
right story. And that's really personal, because I know in like Wicca, or traditional sort of Wicca, which is actually like a new religion that's kind of been reconstructed, and everybody has their different take on it. But some people, everybody has a really different take on how this works. Some people think that they can just do all the things, and they're not necessarily relying on, they're not waiting around, they're not relying on anything outside of them to make it happen. And, even when I say the force, like, that's in you too. Every cell of your body is made out of it. So it's not outside of you, or it's like both, but there's still a way that the human mind will perceive. You perceive yourself often as being separate from it, and you kind of have to consciously make that connection or remind yourself, right? So I will harness the energy by creating like a structure or a ritual that is meaningful to me, that makes me feel good, or that makes me feel, if I don't feel good, it makes me feel like I'm connecting and asking for help. Like I feel good, I'm doing the best I can to get that done. But harnessing that energy, and then also letting it go and allowing, like, I don't have to do it all by myself. There's all of this energy around me. Like the force is beating my heart and breathing my lungs and causing the sun to rise and set every day. And there's everything that's happening around you constantly. The world, cars driving down the street, the wind through the trees. Like, there's so much energy at work, and we are a part of all of it. So, yeah, just releasing that, and waiting for the response.
Yeah, it's
like
that waiting for
response.
the response, though, that I get.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
not so graceful with the art of allowing. Where is it? Why isn't it here? How come it hasn't left yet? If I'm trying to get rid of something, like, I actually have 2 men in my freezer right now, just so you know that.
You said 2 men?
2 men in my freezer. You know, with the freezing thing? You've never heard of the freezing thing? Oh my God. So
no, to freeze someone, to make them go away, or to pause them?
Yeah.
I've thought about doing this.
I've got 2 men in there now.
I've never done it, and then I'm like, will it harm somebody? Like, I don't want to hurt anybody.
No, it's just the connection.
Someone to simmer down.
It is. It's just I'm done with this. So, you need to leave me alone.
I've heard it works really well.
It works really well. It works really well.
Is it working well for you right now?
Yeah, pretty well. I'm afraid to remove them from the freezer.
Good
because
to know.
then they're going to come back. And we're in retrograde season, so there's no way in hell I'm defrosting that.
What do you mean retrograde season?
Well, I mean, aren't there so many planets in retrograde right now?
The outer planets are in retrograde almost half the year anyway, so that's normal. None of the inner planets are retrograde right now, but it's coming. It's coming.
Okay, well, it's coming and then it's staying.
It's coming, sister.
I am not defrosting those men.
Yeah.
One of them's a stalker, so no.
So no, yeah, exactly. Do what you have to do.
Yeah. So in case anybody is wondering, because I'm sure people are like, what the hell is she talking about? You know, those little, like, they're tiny little bottles that you get for the medication at the pharmacy. You just write somebody's name down. I don't put a picture. People can put a picture. To me, that's too, I don't know. I feel like I would hurt somebody if I put their picture. Again, it's intention.
Because you don't like that, so it doesn't feel good
resonate
to
with
you,
me.
so you're not doing it.
Right. And
Yeah.
I don't want to do this. This is all with harm to none. It's
With harm to none.
you know, and every time, yeah. And so I just write their names on it. I fill that little cup with, or the little thing with water, put the cap on, and I put it in the freezer. And I just say, you know, our connection is gone with harm to none. You should be happy and healthy, but far away from me. And
Yeah.
so that, like, that's my little spell. I don't know. I don't really, that actually came from Fiddler on the Roof, I think, you know, just to show.
I've heard that so many places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy and healthy.
I've thought about it.
Away from me.
I've thought about doing it. I usually don't have issues, but every once in a while.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you don't have issues.
Well, yeah. It's interesting too, because one of the energy healing modalities that I do is pranic healing. And you learn a specific process for cord cutting in pranic healing. And what you do when you cut, and there's many ways to do this, by the way. So if you have another way that you've learned to cut cords, it works. It doesn't have to be this other thing, but pranic healing way to cut cords works really well for me. And when you cut the cord, you take the cord that, you know, is still attached to the other person, and you attach it to a higher power source, like a church.
Oh, nice.
Or you can give it to Mother Mary or Jesus or Buddha or, you know, a temple or whatever. But because there's some sort of energy thing happening where they're looking for energy from you, usually on a subconscious level, they don't realize they're doing this.
Yeah.
And so they don't have enough power. Like they don't, and so you can attach them to a source of unlimited high vibrational power, and it will make it less likely that they will need to suck it from you.
Yes. So that's an alternative to freezing them.
So many ways to do this, right?
So many ways. Yeah. Well, this has been so informational. Thank you so much, Rebekah. And
So
you guys, in
welcome.
a little bit, I'm going to make sure that I give you all of her contact information in case you want to get any kind of reading or healing or even just consultation with Rebekah. But this is the part of the podcast now where I give a reading if Rebekah wants one.
I want one. And
You
this is
want
a great
one.
way to harness energy, right?
Oh, yes, sis. But you know what? I look at this as more like timeline possibility. So like I always say these are potentials and possibilities, you know, so it's like a little bit of voyeurism into timelines, you know.
Guidance,
so,
right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean,
But, you know, you get a great reading from somebody, it allows you to direct and focus your energy, hopefully.
Yes.
That's the whole point, right? So it's also harnessing energy.
yeah, exactly.
Like it really is.
So yeah, because it gives me an opportunity. I'll just show you how I do it. What I'm going to ask you to do, and do you have a specific question in mind? Don't say it yet, but do you have a specific question in mind? Okay, perfect.
Yes.
So this is how I begin my process. And this is something that I started doing probably within the last, actually ever since I went to the Dr. Joe retreat. I asked because I have seen so much evidence. I've experienced it myself, and I've seen with other people the power of heart coherency. So I always ask people now when I do readings to put their hands on their hearts, because the heart. Oh, sorry. I'm gonna make you do some work here, girl. And then what I do is we just take 3 deep breaths together so that we access the heart, which is where the truth lies. And then after you've finished, I'm just going to ask you to say your first name only. So now we're going to connect this heart coherency to your name. And you just say your first name out loud 3 times when you're ready.
Rebekah, Rebekah, Rebekah.
Excellent. And then that's how I harness the energy so that I can get into your auric field. And then when you're ready, you can just go ahead, business as usual. You can open your eyes, you can remove your hands from your heart, or you can keep your hands there. Whatever makes you feel comfortable. But that's a way of how I start my process when I do readings. So, my dear, how can I help you? How can I find the right timeline for you to jump into?
Yes. Well, I think I actually asked you this because we had recorded something before that the audio didn't turn out.
Right. I don't remember though, so you're gonna have.
It's
to,
okay. It
you
was.
know,
I think it was like similar.
I don't remember shit.
That's all right. It was a similar question, so it's
Okay.
really interesting. And in terms of the timing of it, I'm watching these. I'm not making any major decisions because right now because everything's moving so much backwards through the end of the calendar year that I do have the understanding that it's going to, like, the universe is doing a thing, right?
Yeah.
So things are being worked out, but I could really use some guidance on going back to a conventional school, like a university, and I'm probably going to do this.
Okay.
And I'm if I do, I don't know what the right thing is yet, but it'll be like hardcore. Like I'm not going for something that's like, you know, a 6-month course. Like I'm going for like
university,
major credentials, like PhD,
master's,
and like good paycheck because my whole life, I was a professional musician until a few years ago, and I lost my chops because I have a sinus thing. But I'm actually happier, but the finances weren't exactly super slick while I was a musician. And, you know, I'm just looking for something really secure and really stable, and also that will blend probably pretty well with what I do that's unconventional as a healer, which I have no intention of ever stopping. I'll always host ceremonies. I'll always see clients for readings. Interested in trauma work, so I'm looking sort of at psychology, which I have also studied before and abandoned a degree to go do music. Psychology, it's funny, the things I was looking at doing, I was in prayer asking, what do I do? Should I go be a nurse and then blend the holistic thing? Should I go be a teacher? Because I've taught music and I love teaching. And then now COVID, it's like, I don't think I want to be a nurse working in the hospitals. And I don't think I want to be a teacher working like in these really unsafe environments. I like the idea of being able to control things. Plus, I need to be able to be as like unconventional as I am. Can you be like a high school teacher and be a witch? I don't know. Like, because we are what I is who I is, right? So anyway, question, that's a big long rant, but the question is, if you see any particular like really traditional like degree or path that would be great, that would provide nice financial stability, that I could like kind of rock it and blend it with all of the healing stuff.
Got it. Okay. And you know that I'm going to tell you everything, and it's going to be for your highest good, right?
My highest good.
So you do want to know everything. Okay.
I want to know all of it.
And it's probably best for you to receive this information as if I'm giving you metaphors, because that's how the spirit world speaks to me. So if I'm not exact or literal, you'll be able to grasp the information better if you also think in terms of metaphors. So I already started downloading information. Like I started getting information, and there's sort of 2 avenues where it does feel. Now I'm going to give you those avenues. Obviously it has to fit right and sit right for you, right? So, you know, take what resonates, toss what doesn't. There were two avenues for me that came up on your behalf, and that's the best way that I can word that in terms of how you can make everything holistic. So I know you were talking about not wanting to do hospitals and stuff, but what came up for me,
I'm open,
was midwifery. So being a midwife, right? So there's an aspect to hospital, because I don't know what the laws are. I don't know what the training is, but I do think that nowadays you do have to be a nurse. I don't know for sure. So I don't know the process. So I don't know if that's, you know, like that's that would be something you'd have to look up on. But I had visions of you delivering babies, and I had visions of you being witchy in not only the delivery, but in being able to curate herbs and stuff like that. So that was the first thing that came out, because the environment that you could create as a holistic midwife, maybe. First of all, you could work in hospitals if you wanted to, or you could do home births, you could do water births, so you're not just limited to one, right? So you have a bit more freedom there. The other thing was that the environment that you would be creating of beauty and being able to make it magical and enchantment would calm nervous systems down. When women are having babies, like, it's scary.
Yeah.
So there would be access to calming their nervous systems down. So that's the first thing that came up. Now, whether it sits right or not with you, that's something you have to take or not take. The other thing that came up was interior design.
Interesting. Huh.
Which is not psychology or psychotherapy at all.
Well, I'm looking for something really safe that is toward a traditional academic route. That's not like
I just don't think you're traditional.
There's an aspect of me that is quite traditional.
No, I get that.
But also an aspect of me that's extremely not, right?
Yeah.
But it's the safety that I'm looking for. So it's interesting, because I think I would enjoy, like, I love beauty and design, but then I have to start my own business in that, and that feels very unsafe.
I get it. So. I get it. Like, and nothing you're saying is illogical.
So you don't see like a traditional university.
Doesn't mean I'm right. I could be wrong. Okay. Just so you know that I could be totally wrong. Let me see if let me do some energy tapping into a timeline of psychotherapy or psychology.
Yes.
Because that's, I mean, it pretty much, just from what I'm picking up from you, what I feel is like, that's what you're going to end up doing.
Like counseling is what we already do with clients.
We already do that, right.
We just don't have the certification. Right.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't believe you have to have certification.
I know you don't, but
I do.
But survival, right?
Yeah, but see, that's what you need to.
This is root chakra stuff.
School from. That's what you need to go to school for, is learning how to get out of survival mode.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, like, working on that through healing, not necessarily going to school to get a certificate. And I know you may not.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Okay. So you're open with that because I feel like by you doing that, now you wanted a reading, so I'm giving it to you.
Yes.
You know, I don't sugarcoat. So what you're doing is you're avoiding. You're avoiding actual true happiness and purpose and calling for your soul. I want you to be very financially safe, and not just financially safe. I want you to feel physically safe, and I want you to feel emotionally safe. And it does feel like if you were to go to school, I'm not going to tell you don't go to school, because you're going to do what you're going to do. And I know that you're going to be fine whatever you do, but that's not your work. Your work is not.
I know.
And do that. But here's what I will say. This is information. They just called you stubborn. I
think scared might be a good word. But yes.
But I heard stubborn.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
So they're talking about adolescence. So if you were to choose a psychotherapy or psychology field, they're talking about adolescence. So that could be
like working with young people.
Yeah, with younger people. Maybe even college age might be the oldest. I wouldn't say past college age. That's what they're talking about, because you do, again, one of your gifts and talents is, whether you're aware of it or not, is being able to create an environment to disarm nervous systems.
Yeah.
You know, so if you were going to go that route, which it sounds like you're going to, I will say this, you will feel technically safe, but you won't actually be living a safe lifestyle. You won't feel, you will, what's the word? It's an illusion of safety, but that doesn't mean you won't make money and all of that, you know?
Well, money has never been my focus until now that I'm almost 40, and there's just certain, it's an aspect of wellness that I've neglected.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, we live in
so now I need to kind of get that together. And the only examples that I really have, and you're right, everything you're saying is like spot on, because no, it is, because, but all of my extended family, other than my mother and father, who are artists and have struggled financially and now they're older. And so that's like the fear piece. All of my other extended family, who are lovely people, have all taken very traditional academic routes. And they are safe and they're happy and everything's cool. And so I'm like, I know how to do that. I can do school, like, you know, blah, blah, blah. Like, it just seems like safe, right? But I know that my work is, I know that,
well, like, you know, you can do it. It just, you may not have that safe, happy life that you think will be brought by that. And I have some, the other thing is that I don't know that your examples are actually really happy. They might be financially safe. That's what I feel like. That's what I'm picking up. So it looks good. It looks good. And they're traditional and they do all these things, but it's almost
you
like
called it. You're
duality.
right.
I feel like they're Geminis in a way. It's like I show up this way, but I'm really this way.
I know.
So but look, here's the thing, you know, that's your example. That's what you know. So that's why you're feeling that way. I'm just here to tell you that there's a timeline and potentials of possibilities of still having what you want, which is the safety in the world without having to go in that traditional route. That's all.
Yeah. Thank you for affirming that. I know I've sensed that that's kind of the move in some ways. I just have to figure out how to reconcile things. Now, I know that the show is only so long, but I do actually have one more question.
Yes.
There's a certification I've been thinking about taking that is a quick certification with havening.
What's havening? I'm getting chills on this. What is havening?
Yeah, so I should do it. It's sort of like...
You need to do this. What the fuck is havening?
Okay, I'm going to do it then. Great. So,
like my body is in pain from the chills. What is this?
Havening is something that helps to regulate the nervous system and helps reprogram the mind around PTSD. And it's the only thing that's ever worked for me. And it was a game changer for me. Now, it's similar concept to EMDR, which is much more well known, but you can't train in EMDR if you're not a frickin' licensed therapist, which is years of school and loans and things like that, right? So I can't even take an EMDR certification. Now, havening does, I think, the same thing. It's a bilateral stimulation of the brain. However, there's also some, it's like a, you know, psychosensory therapy. So there's like self-soothing, which sounds kind of nerdy and whatever, but what happens is the brain begins to release oxytocin, other chemicals that teach the body that it's safe. So there's a lot to do with psychology. And I went through like 2 to 3 years of a psych degree 20 years ago. So I'm aware of, even though I'm sure the field has changed a bit, I'm aware that a lot of what we're doing as holistic or unconventional healers is actually a little bit more of a direct in to getting results. So this was something I just was like, should I do this? So you're saying yes, so I will do it.
They're not letting me go. My body is hurting. I don't know if you can see, but my body is hurting because they're like, so that is the whole, remember how I was saying your gift is that you can calm nervous systems, right? So when I was talking about midwifery too, it was about creating that environment and being able to calm the nervous system. You know, even if in interior design, you can create a design.
It's calming the nervous system.
It calms the nervous system. So what's the lowest common denominator? Where am I from? What's the lowest common denominator? Calming the nervous system. So
what's today? Today's the 12th. The cutoff to register is in a couple days. If there's still a spot, then I'm just going to do it.
You know what? I would manifest the shit out of it because that, I'm telling you, my body is like saying, you know, that would be way more, and it blends your passion for psychology and all that. But again, calms the nervous system. That's okay. I feel much better about that. I was like, I kept telling her, do this, and I'm like,
I really needed that. Yeah, I needed that. I was like, am I being irresponsible?
No, and
draining
I had
my bank account again?
No, and I had no idea what havening, I've never heard of it. Of course, now I'm going to go ahead and Google it and I'm going to find me a havener.
You'll probably, I have a feeling that you'll actually do a certification in it too. That's weird.
Probably one day when I grow
there's
up.
a download.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Namaste. Yeah, that's really fascinating. That's very interesting because I didn't even know what it was. And they were like, ah.
Cool. Wow, that's
that
great.
Feels much better. And if that feels good to you, you got to do that. I'm telling you, that potential and timeline is out there.
Yeah. I don't want to waste the time that is between, like, we're in August now, right?
Yeah.
So until like mid-December, there's a lot, or like at the end of November also, there's a lot of backwards moving energy astrologically. It's just, you're swimming upstream, but I'm like, so I don't want to do any kind of take out massive loans and decide something that's going to dictate the next 4 to 7 years of my life. But this is something, I don't want to waste the time either, right?
Okay.
So this is great.
So there's information that I'm getting. Sorry, I'm just going to share this with you.
Share it.
You're still going to come up with a lot of the same issues about, I can't do this. So I don't want that to deter you. So in other words, you need to do this program. If you're going to do this, you need to do this in spite of the inner critic saying, I can't do this. I can't, whatever, because those, again, because if you choose to, it's a whole other story, but you're not tackling the root of the issue. So you're still going to have to tackle the root of the issue, which is that survival and safety, right? So you may actually, and I'm hoping that through this process, like maybe you even get a practice on your coworker. Because like when I was doing my hypnotherapy certification or whatever, like I had to constantly be working and doing with people. So that would help you, through that process. So that's kind of a dual.
It's hardcore. Like the certification the training is 4 days, 4 half days online, but you need to present 30 case studies that are filmed in order to get the certification. So that's pretty rigorous, I think.
No, that's good. And you can totally do it. Like you can get focused. That's not where my concerns are in terms of what they're saying. They're talking about those root issues about success and receiving financial compensation. Those are going to be there no matter what you do.
Yeah.
So just don't be surprised if that's something that comes up. That's all.
Makes sense.
All right, my dear.
Thank you.
So if anybody wants to have a reading or consult with you or just spend some lovely time working with you, where can they find you?
You can find me at sacredstarlight.com. You can also find me on Instagram. That's my favorite social media platform, and that's at @sacred_starlight. And I do energy healing sessions, coaching sessions, astrology readings, and like, what else? One of the big things I do are meditations that I host once a month online, and it is a magical journey.
Yes.
It's magical. I feel like I'm telling like bedtime stories to people. We go into enchanted realms in these meditations. So you can find the information about that. And it's on Zoom, right? So it doesn't matter where you are in the world. You can join me for those as well.
I have participated in many of Rebekah's rituals and meditations, and I love each and every one of them, and they are powerful. So talk about enchanting and magical. So I highly, highly, highly recommend connecting with Rebekah. Thank you so much for joining me here on the portal. And all you listeners out there, thank you so much for all of your support. If you do want to work with me, you can check me out at terriehuberman.com. I'm also going to be posting all of my contact information and Rebekah's in case you didn't remember everything, because of course, right, we have a lot of information going through our minds. So I want to make it easier for you guys. All the information will be down below in the description area. So I'm always saying stay connected. It's so important to stay connected to yourself, your friends and family, and of course me. And I'll see you guys on the flip side. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, it's so great to see you guys. Thanks for watching. Can I ask you for a favor, if you don't mind? Can you write down, I feel terrific today in the comment section below? Help me engage with you. I want to connect with you. I want to authentically know how you're doing. And also, if you have any questions that maybe I can answer for you in a video, I would love to do that for you. So don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to subscribe and share and tell all of your friends about the connections that you're making. And I will see ya on the flip side.